Thank you, Brand. Okay, my presentation is gonna focus mainly on the incentives and rebates for clean energies. Of course, the other speakers will provide more detail about these incentives, eligibility, deadlines. But I want to kind of call your attention on the Get Growing with Incentives, which is one of the incentives are more attractive for greenhouses in the Southwest Ontario region. It's called Get Growing with Incentives and the Investment Tax Credit or ITC. So of course, as you can see here, there are some incentives that help to cover up to 70% of the capex, and the others are more options to write off up to 100% of taxes in the first 2 years. So the analysis that I'm going to present is gonna focus mainly on the Get Growing with Incentives and ITC. Of course, we will work with all of you in a case base for the tax incentives, but I think it's more interesting to see the rebates that apply to everybody. So I'm gonna start this. It's gonna become a little bit crowded. So I want to start with a base case scenario. So this is a small medium operation, no grow lighting. This is a typical load profile for a greenhouse in winter. How's the pointer? Okay, so you can see here there's typically a very constant demand at night, and of course there is an increase during daylight. And in summer, the increase, of course, is for most of the, I would say, the average medium operation with no grow lighting, increase the energy demand. And this is how the electricity charges look. I want you to pay attention to the mix of different charges. So fixed charges is usually 1%, electricity charges 18%, GA charges, which is global adjustment. We're gonna talk about this a little bit further, and demand charges 36%. Now, this typical greenhouse presents 351 in the peak power, but just so you get an idea, $23,000 as average monthly electricity bill. So that's kind of the analysis that we're presenting now. Okay, so you're probably, most of you are familiar with solar in a greenhouse. Then if we will talk about the only solar option for net metering application, which means putting solar panels in a greenhouse to harness the sunlight and offset your electricity bills. So this is how the current electricity bill look, and this is how the electricity bill will look after the implementation of solar. As you can see, the sun is like the PV production is offsetting most of the day demand, and of course there is some export in winter, and of course in summer the export is higher. Is this making sense for most of you? Okay. So what are the typical return investment in an only solar application for net metering? 11 years. That's average. Of course, there could be more or less. And we're talking about a 690 kilowatt system with annual savings of 100K. So this is gonna vary, of course, depends on each project, but I want you to keep this in mind as a reference. Now, let's see how the scenario will look when we take the incentives, the save on energy incentives for solar and energy storage. So now we are incorporating So with the design optimization, we have now 615 kilowatt solar with 776 kilowatt hours storage capacity. And as you can see here, there is a significant reduction in the electricity charges. Now, what is important here is we're using solar with battery energy storage only for self-consumption, okay? So I'm not talking yet about other options like global adjustment reduction. I'm just using a base case where your solar and energy storage is used for self-consumption. So by using the incentives, the DER, which is the save on energy incentives, then like for a capex is between 1.6 and 2.5, the net cost is under 1 million, and the return on investment is 4.9. So this is kind of the basic opportunity that most of the greenhouses in Southwest Ontario have for solar with energy storage used as a self-consumption, okay? Now, let's see in a large operation. So now we're gonna see the same application in a larger greenhouse. So the first thing you can see here is now we have an average power of 1.5 megawatts in winter and summer because this is grow lighting, it's using grow lighting. So that's probably why the load profile is lower in summer and higher in winter, okay? Now, let's see what happened when we only use solar with energy storage as a self-consumption application. So I'm only talking about self-consumption. So every generation we have in the greenhouse is gonna be used inside the greenhouse to offset their electricity cost. So as you can see here, the demand charges, which is charges based on power draw, of course, there is a reduction, but it's not very significant. Now, the GA charges, something like I didn't mention is like this operation is a class A customer. I don't know if everybody's familiar with difference between class A, class B. I'm gonna explain later, but if everybody's familiar, we can probably skip that part. So, because this is a class A, so the GA charges, they are lower after the implementation of solar with energy storage, but they're still significant, right? 32%. So if we do this, not using nor using solar with energy storage for global adjustment only, but for self-consumption, then we're looking at a 4.1 years return investment. This is the average that we calculated based on different projects. And yeah, here there's some numbers that can help you to kind of get a better idea. The capex between 2 and 3 million, and after the DER and ITC incentives, so the net cost is under 1 million. Okay, now everything we've been talking about is self-consumption. So solar and energy storage used as a self-consumption. Now, there is a big additional opportunity, which is the global adjustment. And I'm gonna go through this very quick as soon as I can, as fast as I can. So this is usually how Class B customers are charged. So Class B are customers where the peak power demand average every month is under 500 kilowatts. So if your greenhouse presents this demand, you're probably in Class B. So Class B, there is a portion of global adjustment charges that are applied in each electricity bill. And for Class A, which is customers that present a peak demand higher than 500 kilowatts average in every month, then the calculation is totally different. Basically, this is how it works. So in the last year, Ontario takes the biggest peaks during the year. In particular for 2023, they happen in September and July. And there is like, they basically charge a portion of the facility demand in those 5 peaks over the total peaks or the total demand in the province. Okay, so in this example, the facility load in those 5 peaks is 1.2 megawatts, but the whole Ontario peak was 114,000 megawatts. So when we take that facility peak load divided by the Ontario, we get a PDF, which is the peak demand factor. Now, that peak demand factor is multiplied by the amount of global adjustment charges every month. So in this example, this facility will be charged $94,000 a year in global adjustment charges. Is this making sense? Okay, perfect. Now that we have more like clear distinction between Class A and Class B, now let's see the biggest opportunity we see either for small, medium operation greenhouses and large greenhouses. If we use solar and energy storage, not for self-consumption, but to discharge the batteries during those 5 peaks, then the whole GA charges are totally eliminated, removed. So this is a big reduction in the electricity bills. That's why we can potentially see paybacks between like less than 3 years. So average 2 years. Of course, as you can see here, we're using the same solar PV system size and different storage capacity based on the design optimization we do for this particular load profile. So the load profile is very, very important when we do this analysis, because we have to make sure that the battery is gonna be charged before each peak. That's one thing. Also, because the portion that solar and energy storage gets from Save on Energy is different, then the mix between solar and storage has to be calculated very, very sensitive, because there is no direct correlation. Like we could say, so we just put solar, so energy storage to hit the peaks, and that's it. But it doesn't work that way, because if you have a solar generation that is reducing your demand during those peaks, then you don't need that much energy storage. So our design optimization process takes all that into account, put it in our software, and we're able to calculate the optimal size. So you could also say, like, why solar is so big when we're only using the battery to get discharged. So the reason is because solar, and if we go back to the DER, is receiving a bigger incentive, like 14.35 per kilowatt, than battery energy storage. So in many cases, it is more beneficial to have a bigger array, even when we're using battery and energy storage just to discharge during the peaks. It sounds maybe a little bit complicated, but of course we can get deeper on this. Now, let's see what happened with a Class A, with a large operation, which is already a Class A customer. So because this is a Class A customer, as you can see in summer, where all the peaks are happening, the batteries are getting discharged. Actually, most of the years, the previous years, the peaks were happening in the afternoon, and last year we had a peak at noon. So this is also part of the sensitivity analysis we perform in Upgreen to come with the best size for solar and energy storage. Now, it's very interesting to see how even for a larger operation, we only need a small system, solar array, but a larger energy storage system, because we're discharging the battery to hit the peaks. So as you can see here, also the GA charges are totally removed. and we're looking at 3.8 years in average for return investment. So conclusion, I would say solar and energy storage, they're very good friends, but they're not the same size. So every load profile will create a particular combination of solar with energy storage. And I'm just bringing here some examples. If you use for self-consumption in medium-sized operation, like the larger the solar array, the better, because you're not using for GA reduction. If you're doing peak shaving, then we're seeing this behavior. So there is like a potential minimum return investment, like the best return investment is happening here. And for large operations is different, and also for energy storage. So in UpGreen, we're specialized in performing this analysis and kind of designing the best return investment. And this may sound a little bit cliche, but why choose UpGreen? Like we're really obsessed with the return investment and LCOE, and we take it serious. It's not just a cliche. Like what we with in UpGreen and Sunbeam Energy are doing by putting these partners together, like the best battery manufacturers in Canada, in North America, the best energy consultants, Save on Energy, Empowered, who is able to finance our projects, is basically putting all together in the return investment and leverage cost of electricity and give you the best option. Now, do you have any question? Be happy to answer. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we're partnering very in particular for this operation, this sector in the greenhouses. In UpGreen, I would say our strength is in the design optimization, but we have performed and developed different installations commercial. So what we will do is for that particular project, we will act as partners and bring the best of each company and make the best experience for you. So some of the, maybe like, let's say we could do design and engineering, UpGreen, and procurement will be probably happening with Sunbeam because they have a bigger coverage in the procurement. We have very good experience in commissioning solar with energy storage. We can also contribute in that. But I think to answer the question is we will act as a partners to develop your projects. I don't know, John, you have something to say about it? No? Okay, perfect. Any other question? Josh. So this one is for GA reduction. This one? Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So as you can see, George, here, this is the average summer load profile. So it's taking the whole summer. So it's basically using the peaks, the 5 peaks. When you take the peaks that happen in July and September, it will show it this way just because it's the average. Okay, but so basically this is like a picture of the whole summer. But if you take a picture of the day where one of these days, then you will see more clear that the discharge happen in usually depends on how we design the system. So there's usually energy storage systems that have 2 hours discharge or 4 hours discharge, and that we will take that into account in our design optimization. Usually 2 hours discharge is enough. And that's why we also partner with Empower to offer the peak prediction. Because if we have a good peak prediction, 2 hours discharge is good enough. 4 hours is nice to have that extra capacity, but you'll have to pay for that extra capacity, and don't use what it's not like you will see it in the payback basically. So that's something we can discuss long further. Sure. Does it answer your question, George? Yeah. Perfect.